Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Mark from Manifestation Masters, and today we're going to talk about why it's so hard for you to control your emotions. So, I get this question a lot, or I get this statement a lot that I'm having problems controlling my emotions. And people say this to me because they think I'm in total control of my emotions. They see me, even at my office space, they see me as a meditation person and peace and, joy and all these things. But everybody has emotions. I have emotions all the time. I can go through multiple emotions in a day. The problem is not having these emotions. The problem is when you allow these emotions to control you. You know, there's three things that I could think of that people do that create a problem when it comes to emotions. They can fight it, they can ignore it, or they can give into it. Fight, ignore, or give into it. When you're fighting your emotions, you're like, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of being tired, or I'm angry of being angry. And those things can carry on and inflame the emotion that you're already feeling. When you're ignoring it, people ignore it many ways. They ignore it, they push it down, they don't want to feel it, and they can do that like by drinking, numbing themselves with alcohol, drugs, smoking, sex, like just mindless TV, or overeating. There's lots of way to ignore the feelings that's going on. You can also give into it. I'm angry and I start punching walls. I start screaming at people. Or I'm sad and I just go and curl up in my bed and just curl into a ball. So all of these things, all of these ways are actually making the emotion stronger. What you really want to do is you want to be able to allow the emotions to pass. It's not about controlling the emotions. Is about allowing them to pass. To know that emotions are normal and you're going to have them. Circumstances and situations are going to happen that's going to trigger you. But the goal is not to let those emotions take you over. It's to be able to breathe, relax, and allow them to pass, to fully feel them. You want to feel it. I used to say to myself, feeling is healing. When I used to have bad anxieties, the worst anxieties you can get. And I never knew that the answer was going to be to actually feel it, because you're running. Like, the whole point of the anxiety is like you're running away from it. You don't want to feel that emotion. But when you feel it fully, you allow it to pass. It's uncomfortable. It doesn't feel good, but it allows it to pass. I remember what changed me was I was reading Eckhart Tolle's book, A New Earth Awakening. So in this book, this lady was sad and she came to him and she was saying that she was sad and she didn't know how to get past it. And he told her problem was not being sad. Her problem was being sad about being sad. So she was fueling the sadness all the time with being sad about being sad. He said if you just was sad, if you just allowed yourself to be sad, it would pass. So that's when I realized what I was doing with anxiety. And I was anxious about being anxious. And this is the vicious cycle with anxiety. Being anxious about you being anxious and being panicked about when is your next panic attack. So I was like, okay, the next time I'm done being afraid of panic attacks and anxiety. Next time a panic attack comes, I'm going to just feel it fully. Whatever. Have at me. And that's what I did. The next time it came and it came raging. And I just breathed and relaxed through the whole thing. I was saying peace, peace, peace in my mind, but I was fully feeling it. I was not running from it. I just stood my ground. And let me tell you, that thing, it felt like forever, but that show was just like a couple minutes and it just got worse and worse. And then it just went away. Boom. And I just felt this overwhelming peace and joy. I was like, oh my God. And I remember feeling invincible because I realized that nothing can really hurt me, and it was all just like all bark with no bite. But this is what you want to do. This is exactly how you want to handle it. You don't want to control your emotions. You want to allow your emotions. You want to fully feel your emotions and allow them to pass. And when you allow them to pass, then they just go away and you're back to your normal self. Um, and what are like the emotions anyway? What are emotions? All the emotion is just thoughts and imagery that you have in your head translated into the body, right? So if you have negative thoughts, negative imagery running through your head, eventually you're going to feel that corresponding negative emotions in your body. If you're just thinking about and seeing in your head happy thoughts about rainbows and unicorns and candy canes, you're going to feel light and happy throughout the day, you know. But when you have chronic thoughts of stressful situations, you're scaring yourself about what's going to happen or this is going to happen, and you're worried and stuff like that. Those translate into fear and anger and frustration and sadness and depression and things like that. And the more chronically you do it, the more you're going to feel those emotional states often, until you may even start to believe that you are that emotional state. I remember one of my old friends from college. I haven't been speak to her for a while, and when I finally spoke to her just a few years ago, she was a total different person. She was so angry. She was angry about everything, and she was really into politics. But when you and she had changed as a person, and it was very shocking. But then I realized that the same thing was happening to me in different ways. And I was not that same lighthearted kid from college that I used to be. And so I decided that I'm going to do something about it. And I would realize that one of my biggest, Tony Robbins talks about this. He says everybody has their favorite flavor of suffering. And I had figured out my favorite flavor of suffering was frustration. That was my emotion that used to come up the most. I try so hard for everything, try hard with my business, try hard, with my working out, try hard in relationships, whatever. And I would always be feeling frustrated because things would never feel like it would be working for me as much work as I'm putting into it. So I started to realize that anytime I felt that feeling of frustration, I would stop and I would start doing my breathing and relaxing, just a little breathing technique and relaxing until that frustration would pass. And every time I do it, I still do it to this day, but every time I do it, I would get lighter and lighter. And I start to feel like I'm going back to my old self, to my 20-year-old self, to my 18-year-old self, more lighthearted, more happy, more inspired, more energy. Because those practice negative emotions, when they start to grow inside of you because you keep fighting them or ignoring them and pushing them down or giving into them, they become stronger and stronger in your body. They take up more space, they take more energy away from you, and then they can manifest into disease and physical things in your body. And they also manifest obviously into the world because you're attracted from that state. So I called it like a detox. Like I was going on an emotional detox. I was releasing negative emotional detox. I was releasing all of those things. Anytime I feel them, any kind of negative emotion, I take the time to stop, to breathe and relax and allow them to pass. One time, I got in an argument with my wife. I can't remember. Oh, she came home with this wrong ice cream or something like that that I told her to get. And I had this story in my head. She's always getting the wrong things when I send it to a grocery store. That's why I do the grocery shopping. So I already had a story in my mind that's amplifying this one circumstance, right? And make it into this big thing to be frustrated about. And we got into a little tiny argument, and I was so mad. And then for some reason at this moment, I was like, no, I'm going to release this, right? This is one of the first times I'm doing it. And I'm sitting there and breathing, relaxing. And this took a while because you can't hurry up letting it go. You have to relax. That's the whole thing, is to relax and feel the emotion. If you can relax and still feel it by relaxing, it'll eventually dissipate. So this took like 15 minutes of me sitting there. Like I was committed not to allow this thing to take me over. So 5 to 15 minutes I'm sitting there and it's just fuming the whole time. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, just dissipates just like that. From this like to just immediately, and it just dissipates. It was not gradual. And I just felt so lighthearted. I felt really happy. I just returned back to like my normal, natural self. And when I opened my eyes, I saw her and I said something just lighthearted to her. It wasn't something mean. And she snapped at me. And then it made me laugh. Like there was no more anger in me. Like even her snapping at me made me laugh because at that moment I realized that I had cleansed myself of the emotion, and she still had it. She didn't release it. So anything I said to her, it didn't matter what I said to her. The anger wasn't there and she was responding from it. So that was a great experience, and I never forgot it. And it helps me all the time to remember that um, you are not these emotions. That's one of the most major things to know, is that you are not the emotions that you're experiencing. When you relax and you allow it to pass, you experience who you really are. You really are peace. You really are joy at the core of yourself. Think of yourself like a baby, like a toddler, like a child, just bright eyed, happy, healthy, light-hearted, fun, curious. Like that is who you really are. And as you grow up, you start and you experience in the world, and you were not taught how to release these energies. You just start storing all these negative energies on top of it. It's top of it, and it starts changing your identity and how you react with the world. You're not that light-hearted child anymore, but you can be. And this is why I believe that all these the people that are enlightened always have this childlike thing about them, and laughter and stuff like that, because they've released all of that stuff. You can, like it says in the Bible, to return to be a child again. You can be a child again if you practice these things. I've released lots of things. I've released anger. I've released sadness. I've released anxiety. When I felt sad and depressed, that was one of the hardest things to release. Because after I released the anxiety and I didn't feel anxious anymore, I started to feel like depressed. And that was a little scary because that felt like a sinking feeling. So with the anxiety, I knew, I trusted that I was not anxiety. And if I allowed this thing and I fully felt it and I allowed it to pass, that I would feel the peace underneath. And so it would happen, and it strengthened that belief to know that I am peace and I can relax, because it's not like a lot of people are running from these emotions because they feel like they are these emotions, and they can't go into these emotions and fully feel it because they feel like there's no end to it. But since I knew that I was not it, and underneath is peace, I would relax and allow it to pass. But when sadness and depression, that really felt like it was so low and sinking, it felt like that's who I was. But logically, I was like, nope, I am not that. This is just another emotion. So going into that sadness, that deep sadness, it was challenging, but it dissipated too. And I was like, wow, I really am peace and joy. Like we really are peace and joy at our core. Like we have nothing to fear. And then I've released tiredness one time. I couldn't believe that, because I was feeling tired and I didn't want to meditate because I'm like, I'm tired. But then something was like, just meditate, just meditate. So as I'm meditating, I'm kind of nodding off to sleep and things like that. And then eventually, all of a sudden, I feel this lightness, like that the tiredness was so like this heaviness on me, and it just dissipated. And I felt light and energized. And I was like, tired is a feeling? That was a new one for me. Fat is a feeling. I've released the feeling of fat, because when you feel fat, you start doing fat things, you know, and that's going to create more fat. So one of the ways I've been losing all this weight is from feeling the feeling of when I feel fat and releasing that. Lack is a feeling. I'm working on that too. Anytime I feel lack, feel broke, feel tight financially, I release that feeling. So you can release all these feelings, and when you release them, you return back to your true state of peace, joy, abundance, love. Energy. Like it's amazing. It's cleansing, and you move through your days on a higher level. And the more you practice it, and the more you regularly do this practice of letting go emotions, negative emotions, the lighter you get, the happier you get, the more you start turning back like a child. You start getting your energy levels go up, your health goes up, your inspiration and passion come back. You start getting ideas, fun. Just life is way better. So I hope this helped you guys. This was a lot of information. If you had an aha moment in this, please write it down, because when you have these aha moments, they're not yours yet. They're not really installed within you. It's like you got an intuitive message and you have an understanding. Write it somewhere that you can see it and practice it every day and read it every day, so that it becomes a part of you, so that you remember. So when you do have these emotional moments, you know what you need to do. Okay, because um, it's a practice. It's a daily practice. The more you do it, the more you are like alert, and the more you pay attention, the faster everything is gonna get lighter and feel better. And just know you can't rush the process, right? You can't rush relaxing. You just have to relax. And one more thing I want to say, a good example of how the emotions work is When you're arguing with someone, if somebody's arguing with you, let's say somebody's angry and they're yelling at you, if you try to fight it, if you try to fight with them and argue back, that what happens? The argument gets more intense, right? If you try to what was the next thing? If you try to ignore it and push it away, so you're just like, I don't got no time for you. Like they will keep coming because you're still angry. They're still getting at you. So you might not be responding to them, but they can feel the anger and they're still feeding off of you, right? And then usually you eventually blow up, right? And then or you give into it. If you give into it, if somebody's like just um, making you sad, saying things to make you sad, and you just give into it, and you just curl into a ball. That's you're actually it now. So that's no longer good. But if somebody is arguing with you or trying to make you sad, whatever, and they're talking to you, and you just and you kind of let it just wash over you and pass, and you don't let it affect you, and you just allow them to do whatever they want, say whatever they want, eventually they're just going to lose interest because you're not giving them anything back. It's like, and it's going to happen fast because they're not getting anything from you. So this is the same way you want to treat the emotions within you. You don't want to give it anything. You don't want to give it anything back. But you do want to fully feel it and just relax in the midst of it and let it so it'll eventually go. Please like, subscribe, and let me know if this has helped you, and let me know what your ways of dealing with negative energy and releasing it out your body. There's many ways. You can breathe and relax. You can meditate. You can have a mindful presence practice. You can dance. Dancing helps to move energy. You can stretch. Yoga, that helps to move energy. Orgasms move energy. Singing, like there's so many, walking in nature. There's so many ways to move energy out of your body. Let me know what your favorite way is.